Welcome back to Investing and Trading Live, sponsored by Online Trading Academy. 25 years teaching people just like you how to trade and invest. That's with the financial markets. When we talk about the markets, that's all the markets: the stock market, options market, futures, Forex, cryptocurrency, bonds, whatever that you like to get into as far as an investment. Online Trading Academy has content and education to train you how to trade like the institutions and not against them. And we have investing classes to introduce you to these concepts and techniques local or at our academies. These are 2-hour investing classes. By the way, they're free. We're giving away some seats for that. We have our state-of-the-art academy local here. You can text the word investing to the number 210 210 for 2 seats for this class. Text the word investing to the number 210 210 right now. When you text in right now, you can receive a text back to find a date. We have these classes during the week. We have them on the weekend as well, but also in the evening. So text the word investing to the number 210 210 right now. So in that last segment, we talked about some of the great opportunities that we might see moving forward here. We had a great 2022. A lot of the stocks were down that we talked about, which is an opportunity in a down market, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Well, Al mentioned a great comment at the end of the segment is how to have a game plan for the upcoming year. And we have a great volatility, which is what we want in the markets, great movements. But also when you have movements that allow you to have strategies for up markets and down markets, it doesn't matter which way the market goes. So let's talk about, Al, here in this segment, how to prime your portfolio with a game plan for all directions with the market.
Yeah, and that's a great point because the different directions are what's going to provide the potential for a great year for you. And the reason that 2022 was so bad for so many people is that it was the buy and hold strategy that most people are in, and that's basically because that's what Wall Street tells you to do: is just put a portfolio together and then hold on to it and don't worry about these crashes and corrections. The reason it was so poorly, the results were so poor in 2022 is that 2022 had more down days than up days. So if you were buying and holding, your portfolio was down more than it was up. And in this last year, only 5 trading days accounted for 94% of the S&P 500 decline. So if you were in the market for those 5 days, you had probably a pretty bleak-looking year. So, and all 5 of those down days happened during situations that you could have been prepared for, and you could have protected your portfolio. You probably could have made some money because during those days, Wall Street did extremely well. So this is a good time to ask yourself now, do you know what Wall Street does to make sure that they have a profit on those days? And then here's the second question. Do you want to know how they do that? You want to know what they do? Because that's what we show you in these classes. If you look at those 5 down days, typically they were mostly around earnings, around Fed announcements, interest rate announcements, and all of them were things that we knew were coming. If you knew the CPI report was coming out on a certain date, there were things you could have done to your portfolio to make sure that you were protected and you could have taken advantage of maybe either direction that it went. When earnings came out for companies like Target was down 25% in one day, and that was the day after Walmart had announced poor earnings. So that retail sector took a big hit. Amazon had extremely poor earnings. But those were days where we knew the earnings reports were coming out, and there are strategies that you can use to take advantage of those situations. So those 5 days could have been maybe the best performing days of your portfolio instead of the worst.
The great thing about it is, you mentioned you want to plan ahead. That's how you have a game plan for some of these different news events that are coming out. And actually, Online Trading Academy has a service that will actually tell you ahead of time when these things are happening.
Sure.
So it's all in one place, and that's what we've really done over 25 years for our students is make it much simpler to follow the market. So it's not just this crazy big thing, which a lot of people think. Make it much more simple for people to get in these markets and have the tools available to you That way you can make smart investing decisions. I mean, think about, I mentioned, priming your portfolio. That's kind of like,
Mhm.
say somebody has a weed whacker or a chainsaw, and you try to pull it a few times, and it probably isn't going to start. It's just the way those things are. You prime it a couple times. There's a little button you can push. It primes it, gives it some extra juice, some extra fluid. We'll call it extra gasoline in there. That way, it primes that engine. It starts much easier. That's the same thing with your portfolio. Give it some extra juice. That way, you can hopefully reach those retirement goals that you have, whether you're retired now or in the future. But you got to start now. We have investing classes to teach you those different techniques and concepts, to see what they are, introduce you to those on how to prime your portfolio. Text the word investing to the number 210 for 2 of those tickets for those investing classes, to see how those markets work and how you can actually take advantage of the proper tools to make smart investing decisions. Text the word investing to the number 210 right now for 2 seats. We'll make sure we get you a text back with some days to pick the day that works the best for you. So Al, continue that discussion about that. I mean, I think you're going through a lot of different concepts that I think people don't really think about, because you mentioned people are told to go buy and hold.
Mhm.
And if Wall Street is making all the money, if TV, which is ran by Wall Street, they own a lot of the TV
Sure.
companies. If they're making all the money and they're telling the public to do something, and the public isn't making all the money, there's a little sneaky disconnect there. So, how do you know when they're giving the right information, or are they ever? But doesn't matter what they say when you understand supply and demand and how the markets actually function.
Yeah, it's important to understand and remember that the Wall Street, the institutions, the big money control about 80 to 90% of all the trading activity. And in any trade or any investment, there's two sides. There's a buyer and there's a seller. And if Wall Street's on one side of a trade and you're on the other side, who do you think is going to win most of the time?
Yeah.
Well, it's obviously Wall Street.
But also, if Wall Street wants to buy something, it's just like anything. You have to convince somebody to sell it to you.
Sure.
Now, think about that for a second.
And what you're talking about is people making decisions based on someone's opinion that they hear,
Yes.
maybe on TV or that they read or listen to the radio. And you're going to be bombarded. And already it's happening. I get probably 100 emails every day
Every day.
from financial companies. Half of them saying that the market's going to be up, 20, 30, 50% this year. Some had the other half saying it's going to be down 50 to 80% this year.
Yep.
Those are all people's opinions. And nobody can predict with 100% accuracy what is going to happen to the market long term. But you can look at things short term that you can use to your advantage. In fact, I read an article. No, I actually heard it on TV on CNBC. They were interviewing a guy by the name of George Say, founder of Annandale Capital, asked his opinion about the market. And he said, well, you know what? My opinion and 50 cents will buy you a bad cup of coffee. In other words, he didn't even think his opinion was worth anything. So those are
the cup of coffee
guesses.
at that firm.
Yeah. So if you're basing your decision on somebody else's opinion, that's a guess. That's what an opinion is. And that opinion, that person's guess was probably based on somebody else's guess. So the key to being successful as a trader or investor is to act based on facts. What is factual? What can't be manipulated? What can't be lied? Because as Josh mentioned, if a Wall Street firm or a hedge fund wants to buy something, they would like the price to be lower so they can buy at a lower price. Can they do that? Can they make it go lower? Absolutely. They can manipulate the price of something to make it go lower so they can get in at a better price. What if they want to sell? If something is trading at, let's say it's $100 a share, they would like to get $110 or $120 for it. Can they manipulate the price up? Sure they can. It's rumors. They will come out with what their opinions are, or maybe start a rumor about something. Look at all the companies that short stocks. And when a big firm or hedge fund shorts a stock, they pretty much have to have the value of that stock go down. And by the way, in these classes, we teach you what shorting is and how you can participate there. But all of a sudden, you'll hear these stories come out about, how poorly a company is doing, or maybe there's a rumor about a product not working properly. All sorts of things can be out there, but what can't be manipulated is the price of something. What you see in a price chart is factual. It can't be manipulated, and we use that. We use what is on a price chart to determine when is the right time to buy something. It becomes more important not to know exactly what the company is to make a choice based on the company. It's to make a choice based on the price, because every company can be overvalued to the point where it's not a good investment. It can still be a great company, but it's not the right time to buy it. And same thing can happen. We see during market corrections and crashes. During bear markets, it's not just a couple of companies that go down. It's like the market becomes a bathtub and somebody pulls a plug and everything gets sucked down with it. Good companies, bad companies. And that's what happened this last year. That's one of the reasons you should be so excited about this year, is that there are a lot of companies out there that have become now fairly valued, and they went through this downturn because they were overvalued based on all the money that the Fed was pumping into the economy, low interest rates, all those things that caused not only good companies but bad companies to go up in value. But the good ones became, in many cases, very highly valued, overvalued, and now that's that's reversing, and they're going down to a point where now we should start looking at these companies, because that's where the growth is going to be.
Yeah, just to play devil's advocate a little bit, Al, though, because these companies are down, they could stay down for several years too.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And that's why you need to understand how supply and demand works in the financial markets. And
Yep.
you're talking about how to read a price chart.
Yeah, that's why I say that's what you need
Yeah.
to know, if it's the right time to buy something.
Exactly.
And that's based on price, on a price chart. And it's the key to being successful is to make as many trades and investments as you can at a point where you have the highest probability of it working in your favor, with the lowest risk entry point and the highest profit potential. A lot of people don't do well because they don't know how to identify when to take a profit. And if you're doing a buy and hold, basically you're told don't worry about profits because you're going to hold on to something for 10 or 20 or 30 years. So the two things that are the most important, one is protecting your assets and the other is protecting your profit. That really is not part of that buy and hold strategy. It's just putting your money into something and holding on to it, buckle up, put it on cruise control, and hope. Cross your fingers and hope.
Exactly, yeah. And just you were talking about that price chart. I mean, it just kind of a little story that we can relate to is my son fell off the monkey bars a while back, about a month and a half ago, and the doc or the nurses kept saying, "Oh, his arm is broke. His arm is broken." I say, "Okay, well, he's definitely not moving, and he's definitely in pain." So what do we do? Rather than take their opinion on it and just go put a cast on it, or maybe just start surgery, we went and got some X-rays. And that's just like using a price chart to find your information on where price is on a price chart and where you might want to buy or sell, and not going off just the opinion. So it's not, you got to find out what you got to do by looking at the price chart, and then what to do, which would be buy or sell when the price is actually cheap or expensive.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with my son's wrist, is we didn't just go and put a cast on it. We found out what's going on, and then we got a resolution or a solution on what to do. And he ended up having a sprained wrist. It was not even a broken arm, and they even thought it was a shoulder.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: when he had the X-ray, did you read it? Were you the one that made the diagnosis?
Good point. I did not.
No, and why?
Because I don't have that skill.
Exactly. The
Yep.
same thing is true with the price chart. Everything you need to know is on a price chart. A price chart tells a story about a company, not only what's happening now, but it gives you a high degree of accuracy of being able to determine what's going to happen down the road. And what you want to be able to do is not look at something backwards. Don't look backwards at something that's lagging, but look forward. What is going to happen in the future based on those facts? So if you're looking at a price chart, learn how to read it like a radiologist reads that X-ray or an MRI. And that's what we do. We teach you how to read a price chart.
Yep, and it's not even taking those opinions, it's finding out what the facts are. Come into one of these investing classes and see what it's all about. But by the way, they're free. I mean, it's 2 hours of your time. I mean, people are watching TV for 2 hours and waste that time away, or social media, which could be even worse. Come to see one of these classes and see how you can improve your financial future and what their options are. Text the word investing to the number 210-210 for 2 seats for this free investing class. Text the word investing to the number 210 right now. Coming up next, Al, let's continue talking about priming your portfolio, retirement strategies, but also some different income strategies. Coming up next, text the word investing to the number 210 right now for 2 seats for a free investing class. We'll be right back.